Hello guys, and welcome back to class. In this video we'll be talking about trade analysis, and this is the beginning of the beautiful and interesting part of forex trading. So if you had not been paying attention until now, please, you need to pay very close attention right from this moment on. Okay, now this is what helps you determine whether to take a trade or not, and what kind of trade to take, whether to buy or to sell or to stay out of the market. So it is trade analysis. When you're able to analyze your trade accurately, that you will know, okay, it's a good time to buy or it's a good time to sell. So as a result of that, we would be paying a lot of attention from this minute upward. Now, there are different types of analysis that a person can do trading forex. You have what we call technical analysis. And we have fundamental analysis. And finally we have sentiment analysis. So I'm going to break this down as well as possible. So I'm going to start with technical analysis. Now, technical analysis is when you make trade decisions based on the past history of the market. Okay, making trade decisions based on the past history of the market. Now, your trade analysis here is completely based on what the market has been doing so far, what the market has done so far. It would help you to project where it is going to. You know how you can be standing by the roadside and a vehicle is coming at some speed. You're not the one driving, you are not even in the vehicle, you are just on the roadside. And then as the vehicle is coming, you look at the car and look at the road and you project, this guy is going to hit or enter this pothole at a very bad speed and is going to have issues. Or this vehicle is about to have an accident. Or maybe this car is going to hit the other car in front of him. Why? Because he's running at a very high speed in a short distance. That is what technical analysis does. It looks at what the market has been doing. Okay, the market has been doing this zigzag. So there's every projection that when the market, since it has failed at this point before, it has failed at this point before, it has failed at this point before, there's every likelihood that as it's coming down, it's going to fail at this point again. And when the market actually comes down, it gets to this point and it bounces back. And considering that it has been failing at this top, you can conclude that when it gets to this place, it's going to fail again. And the market actually gets to that point and fails again. So that is what technical analysis does. You look at what has happened in the past to determine what will happen ahead or in the future. At least to be able to project what would most likely happen ahead or in the future. So this is what technical analysis is based on. So in other words, we can say that technical analysis relies on information from indicators and previous chart actions. So in forex, we have several indicators that can tell you things that would possibly happen. Okay, I'm going to slide over to the MT4 and give you an idea what an indicator is and how it helps to do technical analysis. Okay, so here we are on the MT4 platform, and from what we're looking at now, we have several indicators that tells us what is happening in the market. For instance, we have the candles themselves. Okay, the candlesticks themselves. That is all these candles that you are seeing on the charts. We've talked about candlestick before in one of the topics in the past. So if you have not studied the candlestick lesson under types of charts, please go back and study very well and make sure you understand candlestick. And if you have not read the material on candlestick, or you have not gotten the material on candlestick, please ask for it and get it and study it as well. So if you look at the candlesticks themselves are giving you informations as well. They are telling you what the market is has done in the past and what is probably most likely going to do again. And as you can see, apart from candlestick, you have some other lines on this chart right now. These lines are referred to as moving averages. We're going to talk about moving averages later on in future. So these are different indicators that tell you what is happening in the chart. So if I want an indicator now, I'm using a mobile device, so I'll get indicators under this F here. So if I click on R to add indicator, you see a list of different indicators that you can use to project what the market is going to do. So there are so many different indicators that you can find. There are indicators that actually show up on the charts here, and there are also indicators that show up at the base of the chart, which is known as the indicator window. That is in the indicator window. So I'm going to bring on one of those indicators that come up at the indicator window, just so you have an idea how those work. Okay, now you see at the bottom of your chart there is this section where the indicator window shows up. So this is the indicator window, and this is actually the chart window. So there are some indicators that come up on the chart, like this gold line, the light blue, the light blue line, the deep blue line, and the red line. And then there is this bottom one. All of these help you to project where the market is going or what the market is going to do. Okay, so that is what technical analysis is all about, looking at the market's past and with that determining what the future is going to look like. So if I pick, let me see GU. Okay, so if I pick GU, you notice these purple lines that at the end of them you see the price shows in purple here. Those purple lines are known as supports and resistance. Now these are also some indicators that tells you what the market has been doing. And how do you draw those ones? You mark points where market has been turning around, and then you put those lines there telling you that there is every likelihood that market will turn around again when it gets to that point. And if you go back well in time, you realize that everywhere you see those lines, you see market bouncing off them. You see the situation here, you see the situation here, you see the same thing occurring here, you see the same thing occurring up here, you see it occurring here, you see it occurring here. So that is what indicators are, using the previous record of the market to determine. So now I can project that if at any time this price turns around and decides to come up, so if it decides to come up and it comes up to this point, there's every likelihood that when it gets to that point, it's going to turn around and start coming down again. And if it manages to break this one, there's every likelihood that when it gets to this one, it's going to turn around and start coming down. And if it manages to break that one, there's likelihood that it will come here and pause and start coming back down. Maybe even pause when it gets to this second one, go back up, play around this plate, and probably break this one. But everywhere you see those lines, you see the market is going to pause at those points. And you see it occur here, you see it occur here, you see it occur at this point. So everywhere you see those lines, you see it's already happening right now. Okay, there's no line there anyway. So you see it happen across the chart. So this is what technical analysis is all about, simply making trade decisions based on the previous record or previous history of the market. Okay, so that's technical analysis in short. Now slide over to our board and continue with fundamental analysis. Fundamental analysis, on the other hand, is making trade decisions based on the economic calendar of the country where you are trading their currency. So trade decisions, that's fundamental, is making trade decisions based on the economic activities of the country whose currency you are trading. Okay, so this one now is not paying attention to the chart. You don't care whether there was a support or a resistance. You don't care whether the market has turned around at any point. You don't even want to know whether you need, whether there's any indicator on your chart or not. In fact, as I'm doing some, trading some fundamental, you really don't need to look at it. Even if you don't have a chart, you can still trade fundamental. But with technical, you cannot trade technical without looking at your chart and basing your analysis on what you are seeing on the chart. But with fundamental, you really don't have to look at the chart. All you need to look at is the country itself that has that currency, the country that owns the currency. So for instance, if I want to trade US GBP USD, for instance, now I want to look at what's happening in Great Britain, what's happening in US, United States, and then with that I can determine, okay, which of these two economies are stronger and which one is going to remain stronger. For instance, in the last few months, Great Britain has been having issues because of the Brexit wahala. Now, as a result of that, the Great British Pound has been very, very weak. So that is why GBP USD has been selling for over 4 months now. GBP USD has been selling overall for over 4 months now. If I slide over to the MT4 and open the GBP USD chart, you'll find the chart. Okay, we're even in GBP USD already. Let me just increase the time frame and you look at what's been happening on GBP USD. Can you see it's been selling all the way from this point? It's been selling all the way from this point down to this point, and that is a lot of sale. You don't see that happen too often. Okay, so before they had the Brexit issue, GBP has been very, very sound and it's been buying from this point to this point, which is a lot of buy. But now it's been selling crazily, and as it is, until this Brexit issue is resolved, it's still going to keep selling and keep dropping like this. So as you can see, fundamental analysis is very, very critical and very important in trading, because you have to know what is going on. So sometimes you can actually trade fundamental based on specific news. Okay, you can trade fundamental based on news, and that is why sometimes you need to also know what is going on in the countries of the currencies that you are trading. You don't just take decisions to trade currencies based on what the chart is telling you. So when the chart is speaking, you at the same time need to go back and look at what the country itself is saying, apart from what your chart is telling you. So fundamental analysis is when you actually go back and look at what your chart, what the country is saying besides the chart. Okay, so this is the difference between fundamental and technical analysis. Okay, these are just in summary. We're going to go into details on under fundamental. We're going to talk about the different indicators that you can use to do a full and effective fundamental analysis, and then to do an effective technical analysis. And then for fundamental, we're going to talk about different news activities that you need to pay attention to be able to trade fundamental, fundamentally. Okay, so having said that, we slide over to the next or the last topic under types of analysis, which is the sentiment analysis. Now, sentiment analysis is not based on any empirical reason. It's simply just based on the emotions and feeling the pulse of the market. Okay, sentiment analysis is based on emotion and feeling the pulse of the market. Okay, so that is why you realize that a lot of forex traders, no matter how good they are, they still get to join several trading groups. They join several trading groups. Personally, I belong to a lot of forex trading groups. In fact, if I open my Telegram right now, you will see I belong to over 30 different forex groups, forex trading groups. Not because I don't know what I'm doing or I don't know how to trade, but because I want to be able to interact with other traders as well. You know how they say that if you work with others, you will walk far, but if you want to go fast, then you go alone. So the same thing applies in forex. For you to have good and consistent sustainable success, you have to interact with other traders as well. You have to hear what other traders are saying. You have to see what others are saying. You are not the only person in the market. What you are seeing may be based on simple maybe how do I put it, faulty. But when you feel the pulse of other traders, you can know. By the time you go through your groups, the groups where you belong to, you can see what people are commenting on, what people are writing about, what people are talking about, and the kind of reaction people have towards the currency you want to trade. So for instance, you want to trade GBP USD, you are looking at probably a 15 minutes stroke 30 minutes chart, and you decide you want to do a buy. but somebody else is looking at 4 hours stroke daily chart and is realizing that GBP USD is going to be selling. Now, if you do not have access to the information that person has, you are going to buy, and then your buy would actually work for a few seconds, maybe about 20 or 10 minutes, and you would think you are in profit, maybe profit of like 10 pips. And since you cannot see the bigger picture, you maintain it and believe that, okay, it's going to get. So as you can see, you see the pop-up that just came in. I have a lot of groups like that where we interact. So you because you cannot see the bigger picture here, you conclude that you are in a good deal and maintain your trade. You wouldn't take your profit quietly, the 10 pips you have made, and go and sleep. You hold on expecting to make 50 to 80 pips or 70 pips. Meanwhile, in the long run, the market is in a sell. What you are buying is just a minor retracement in the market, and as a result of that, the market turns around at the last minute and starts going the other way, and that way you lose both the profits and, if you are not careful, your entire capital to that, because you think you know everything. You did not want to care about what others think. So sentiment analysis is actually one of the most powerful tools of trading forex. Let me give you a scenario. There was a picture I saw somewhere, a kind of a cartoon anyway, and it plays out like that. So in real life, you see, traders were in a room, a stock exchange room, and while they were there, a call came in for one of the traders, and he took the call. He was taking the call outside, not even inside the room, but outside the room. And the person on the other end of the call was telling him something about, I don't know what it was, but in the course of the call, the guy mentioned Excel. And of course, we know Excel is an application. So it's an application. Excel is an application, a Microsoft application. It also means to progress, to increase or something. So it might not have any relationship with trading or the business they were doing in the hall. But when the guy mentioned Excel outside, somebody who is inside but close to the window heard him mention Excel and didn't hear clearly and heard sell instead. So he started ruminating, sell. What's this guy selling? Let me listen very well so I can hear what he's selling. And while he thinks he was talking to himself, the person beside him heard. And that one was already talking about another a commodity already. And when he heard the sell, he just said sell. Okay, so we should sell then. And he clicked sell. The moment he clicked sell, the person beside asked him, oh, you sold that? He said, yes, I'm selling. No. Everybody in the hall started selling. Meanwhile, the guy making the call originally is still outside and had no idea what was going on inside. Now, that is what can happen if you don't pay close attention to the sentiment of the market. Okay, so sometimes you really need to understand what people are seeing and why they are seeing it that way. So you belong to a group and you are going right on a trade and the other person thinks it should be left. You can simply ask the person, why are you making this decision? What are you basing your decision to take a sell on? Because I am seeing a buy. And then by the time two of you rub minds together, you realize that, okay, you can either realize that you are wrong in the first place and correct yourself, or you can help the other person correct himself or herself. So we have to hold each other's hand even as we trade forex. So these are the different types of analysis that we have in forex. But then, which of these should one prefer over the other? Which one would I rather do? Would I do technical and forget about the others? Or would I focus on fundamental and ignore everybody else? Or would I just focus on sentiment analysis? I don't think anybody should focus on sentiment analysis anyway. It's the least of the types of analysis, but it's also equally important. Now, there is none of these types of analysis that are more important than the others. You have to know them. But first of all, as a beginner, you have to focus more on technical. Understand technical very well. And before you take a trade, check that there is no major economic news on that currency pair, which is where fundamental comes in. And then after that, find out from the groups you belong to if there is any alternative opinion about the currency pair that you are trying to trade. So this is how to mix technical, fundamental, and sentimental analysis together to get the best result. All right, I wouldn't want this video to be too long. It's already too long anyway, almost 20 minutes. I will continue in the next video. See you shortly, and thank you for watching this.